Here we go. He's summoning all the bad guys. He's like, oh, I got my own crew. Yeah, oh, like, oh man, you know, all for one. It's like, I got my Taga, I got my Nomus, I got my Dabis. He's like, that's right, bro. I'm coming with the whole evil army. All the bad guys are coming. Oh man, this scene is on your left. Here we go. My god, this turned into Avengers Endgame, man. It's beautiful. No, he's like, we copy his powers. Yeah, his mimic powers. And Doubles coming up, baby. Exactly. With all the heels coming, man, this is amazing. Oh, Miracle's finally back with her broken body. But yeah, everyone's coming back, Fat Gum. Oh, it's beautiful. They're all coming here. They're like, yeah, it's like, my god. I can all summon my friends. Exactly. We can all summon too, yes. Oh, this is amazing. Yeah, we also got summoning powers. Oh, this scene is so great, man. Man, this ending is the most hyped ending of my video, man. He's like, oh, you can summon your friends? I can also summon my friends! It's like, this is amazing, man. Oh, God, man. It's so hot, man. This scene is crazy. I got my own pro. Everyone's coming in, but it seriously felt a lot like the Avengers scene. Yeah, like, I immediately was like, this really reminds me a lot of that scene where Thanos is like, I'm summoning my army. And then it's like, I also got friends. So it's like everyone, yeah, never comes in there, right? It's like, yeah, this is basically the same thing here. Just summoning in all the bad guys and all the good guys at the same time, right? But great scene. We see, before that scene though, it was important, right? Because Navis is crying and so on. And I guess correctly, right? Because first, the Navis is a crying scene. It felt like, oh, he's like betraying Deku again. He's like quadruple edged. He's like betraying Deku, betraying all. It's a little bit like unsure what side he was on. Because like, ha, you know. But no, I guess correct, of course, that he was just pretending to betray Deku. And actually, no, we're here to summon all the good guys, right? Certainly. And as I saw in the episode, it's a lot about like Toga, right? Of course, focus on her and Urikara. So I'm sure that the other heroes, I mean the training, so to speak, the students will appear, right? Because obviously Toga will have to fight Urikara, you know. Todoroki will have to fight, you know, his brother and so on, right? So certainly more people will appear, right? Because in this image here, right, we saw all the more seasoned heroes coming in, but I'm sure the students will also come in later as well, right? And I see that Nedio Hado, she has her hair, right? Yeah, she has a new hairstyle. Doesn't she? 4 little cowlicks instead. I don't know, but in this season started, most characters changed their hair. Yeah, and of course Miracle has lost one of her ears then, and it's a cyborg now. Yeah, the whole Miracle scene last season, like, my god damn it, man. Yeah, now she of course has like a cyborg hand, right? But very been spoiled on that though, of course, when we saw what's it called, the trailer, like earlier this year, right? We saw the trailer there. Then it was like, oh yeah, this is spoiled now. But yeah, I'm hoping the Endeavor can take him out, right? Can't always rely on All Might all the time. Yeah, Endeavor gonna come in there and win it. But yeah, next episode, since that's gonna be really hyped though. Absolutely. Next episode's gonna be freaking fire. This episode, and I will say this thing, I don't think the episode was bad or anything, but it certainly has felt a little bit kind of slowish since the Stars and Stripes, yes. Stars and Stripes, that never happened, yeah. But I feel the episode's been a little slow since Star, right? So episode 1 and 2 had Star, you know, and that was, well, she died, but whatever. Let's ignore that. And then these 3 last episodes, 3, 4, 5, it's been a little bit like they're obviously building up to this fight, right? You know, it's been a lot of build up. So next episode is probably gonna be a lot of action. Also, hopefully, better budget too, right? Like better animation and so on as well, right? Now see all the cats coming back here, and we did see Ragdoll last week. And this is her friend, you know, the cats and so on, right? So yeah, all of the cats are coming back here. So hopefully, next episode's gonna be this a huge fight, right? But it's probably gonna be like a massive fight. Even we also saw, of course, how he's summoning a bunch of characters I didn't even recognize. I mean, yeah, of course, first it's like, oh, here comes Toga and Nemus or whatever, right? But then there was like a bunch of other characters behind them in this, he's like warping blob thing. That was like, oh, these are some nobodies. So I'm sure he has somehow, you know, managed to pick up like 50 new minions that can fight for him. It is a little interesting, actually, if you think about it at any depth, really, because he always seems to be able to pick up some random evil nobodies, right? All for one. Yeah, he has like, he got like a 50 or 100 or so of like, this guy with like the beast quirk or something. Some random people, they don't have like really good quirks, but they got somewhat decent quirks, and they somehow, he got like, you know, a lot of them. Always, yeah. Every season it's like, I got 50 new bad guys that does something. And then they will just immediately lose, basically. Yeah, and I'm sure, right? I'm sure that like 99% of those new bad guys that he summons are all gonna lose this fight right there. They never get them shown again. Yeah, they have like one quirk each, which are pretty mediocre, and they're gonna lose and they're gonna get captured. Like, certainly, very likely, right? Well, it is true that they had a prison break, I suppose, last season. So I guess most of these guys might be like prisoners that he maybe picked up or something. Maybe something like that. But whatever. What more happened in the episode? Before I forget here, honestly, the last thing was really hype, right? Yeah, of course, we talked about the early reaction report, the Urikara and Deku scene, right? When they're doing all like, oh no, maybe I can date her or something. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's like, confess to her already, Deku. This scene got me crazy, man. It's like, come on, bro. Finally, it's like ultimate confession scene. It's like perfect timing. Think of it. I almost like you. I'm gonna try to thank you. Come on, it's so frustrating. Come on, it's like every time in anime you're like, oh my god, this is an obvious confession scene. Why don't you kiss her already, man? Yeah, no, I like you. Yeah, it's a frustrating scene. Yeah, so we're both weird. We're both weirdos. We're both hentais. Yeah, it's the same word. We're both hen. It's the same word in Japanese. You know, that's what the word hen. High conference, right? You know, weirdo. Yeah, I'm sure they get married after everything is over. 10 years later, after everything concludes. But it's the most tropey, like, kiss her already. So frustrating to watch it because they've done it so many times now, right? And I think that this is an issue that every time they do this thing, every time it gets more ridiculous, right? Because every time you're like, oh my god, you do it already. But yeah, first of all, the Urikara Deku scene was just like, yeah. It was pretty cute, and it was like, we must have weirdos, yeah, we're weirdos. But at the same time, right, it felt very cliche. It's like, oh, he could easily confess to her here. He can be like, I like you, or something. And he's like, no. He's like, oh, you're my best, you're so awesome, but I was like, oh. I'm sorry, but he's like, oh, it's so cliche, right? They're both of the characters are like, oh, we can't just confess that we like each other, even it's super obvious. And so on. But whatever, I digress. But it's just like what it is. I like this in here though. Just after that scene, right? We started talking about the stock market. So it's Nikkei, of course, stock market in Japan, which is famously pretty terrible. And I have money in Nikkei, so I'm saying anything more. But Nikkei is like famously. It's actually interesting from a historical aspect because Nikkei is the stock market that collapsed, of course, and the Japanese economy has been bad ever since then, right? And it's been on recovery. But the thing is that Nikkei is like the only big stock market in like on the planet that has like collapsed and hasn't really returned back to its former state. It is higher now, I believe, than when it crashed, but it took like 30 years or something. So Nikkei is actually kind of, yeah, so Japan actually historically has been, Japan really does have like a unique stock market because every other stock market in every other country has basically is basically higher, so to speak, right, than a previous crash. And Nikkei had the only one that took like 30 years to get up there. So it's like a record of bad stock market, actually, in a lot of ways. But seriously, right, because the Japanese economy has been very, very stagnant. It was like this huge crash, and then it took them so long time to get back, right? For example, when stock market crashed in America, during like Corona stuff, right, it recovered in like half a year or something like that, you know what I mean? Like SPY 400 or Dow Jones, so on, yeah, they recovered in like a maximum a year, right? Probably less than that. So Nikkei is famously has huge issues, right? And so I feel that's a little bit what he was alluding to, generally speaking, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, it's gonna crash stock market, this is going terrible and so on. But because again, yes, Japanese stock market is like uniquely bad, actually, honestly. And I won't say you should invest in it, whatever. But I'm just saying that historically seeing, right, Japanese stock market is like the slowest stock market to recover from a crash, I think. At least in the 20th century, so it's like really bad in that sense. But these days, though, it has recovered, though. But I mean, like up to now, basically, in the latest years. But that being said, though, like I said, my reaction part, I find it interesting too because it's like, well, yeah, I guess the stock market would be really terrible. It's also something really, I'll say, they don't really discuss this very much in the show, right, or in similar shows to that. But it will be kind of obvious that in My Academia, it is very clear that Japan is some kind of epic center of quirk wars or whatever, right? All the other countries in the world seem to be way more stable for some reason, and they don't have, all for one and one for all. They don't have all the weird quirks, I suppose, right? It doesn't feel like it's all cray-cray or so on. So, like, why would you invest in the Japanese market, right? So I like this in a lot, actually, because this should have been probably mentioned earlier in the show. It's like, yeah, probably terrible. The economy is probably really, really bad in Japan. How can they afford all the buildings at UEA and so on? Yeah, because, I mean, think about it, right? This is the country that has the most quirk fights, right? The most weird powers, and the most, the most like criminal underworld with powers and so on, right? This would be Japan up in this universe, right? Yeah, they blow up buildings and houses all the time. It's like, why would you invest in Japan? Because it's like half this country is being destroyed by quirks every week, basically. So it's like, yeah, the Japanese economy is probably completely destroyed in the My Academia universe. It actually should have been probably a long time ago, like season 2 or something. Yeah, you're like, it doesn't make any sense though. It doesn't make any sense. So I like this whole scene here. It's like, yeah, this is gonna infect the whole market and so on. And that being said though, they kinda allude to a point that with this baseball Earth scene that, if he crashes Decay, that's gonna like crash the whole plastic economy. That is not true though, because Decay is not big enough for that, so the plan itself wouldn't actually make it happen. But sure. Like, if they destroy Japan and they keep doing this stuff in other countries too, we can, keep destroying the planet. But I was like, man, yeah, this is very true. Like, who would ever invest in Japan in this universe? Because, I mean, as a side note, or whatever we call it, I do find it a little bit weird, and I guess it's the whole star and stripe thing, right? It does seem kind of strange, and I think it's a mistake, honestly, in the world building of anime. That why is Japan so uniquely bad? Maybe it's explained later in the end of the manga. I don't know. I haven't read the manga up to the point of the last season, right? But maybe it's explained, like, why is Japan, like everything is bad is in Japan. But it does feel a little bit like this is alluding to the whole thing that, yeah, all the best quirks, all the worst enemies, all the worst villains, whatever, they're all in Japan, right? What's happening in Europe, At least we put it in Europe. What's happening in Africa? It's like, does no one have any quirk over here? It's certainly, it's a little bit weird world building, and I think that honestly is a big mistake in My Academia. I think that Japan should not be uniquely bad. I think it would be a lot better if the storyline was that every other country, whatever, right, roughly the same amount of people, would have roughly the same amount of issues. So, for example, Europe, obviously, one country in Europe isn't as big as Japan, right? But like the European Union or whatever, like in total, should have more, crazy quirks or whatever than Japan and so on. It's just weird, man. No, but I always live stream My Academia every Saturday. I always been live streaming My Academia since like the beginning, bro. But I was just saying that right there. It's like I think it is a big mistake, honestly, in My Academia, that the author has certainly made it that Japan has all the best and the worst quirks, right? He could have just said that. Oh, back in Europe, it's the same thing over there. America, they got a lot of troubles, man. Have you seen those Americans? They're crazy. They all got like gunpowder. They all got American powers. It would be kind of funny though if America was way worse. Everyone in America is so aggressive, whatever. Right? If anything, honestly, not be that guy, but if everyone got quirks, I think that Japan would be way more safe to be in America. Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I think that the Japanese society, if everyone got powers, would probably still be more stable than America, which is a lot more extroverted, the people are a little more aggressive and less, because on a cultural scale, right, Japanese people are more, orderly and they follow the law more and so on, right, as a general population. So, if anything, Japan probably be one of the safest countries if everyone got quirks, right? But anyway, yeah, I do think it's a big issue, honestly, and this whole stock scene kind of reminds me of that, right? Where you're like, yeah, I guess he has crashed the stock market in Japan, but I wonder how the rest of the world will be, where everyone has quirks and they're a lot of fun. Because in the same time, right, I guess what I mean is that wouldn't there be other supervillains in every country? Wouldn't like Sweden also have supervillains? I would be supervillain. Yeah, and destroy OMG then or something, right? Wouldn't the other countries also lose a lot of money and so on and have all this chaos? Because I'm sure there would be a bunch of other super bad quirk users in every country that are destroying their stock market and so on. Yeah, it's a little bit like, it probably would be a niche. But yeah, anyway, so you guys have a great day.